So last week, I admit I got a little hostile about the whole Reptilicus film. I started to think that you were all trying to give me permanent brain damage by making me watch and review such a horrendous movie. I kinda lost my shit, and I know that some of you might have felt I was out of control. Then, I watched both of tonight's films. You people must really hate me. Here's your damn rant show, folks. Greetings and welcome to Film Rants, the best rant show on the internet according to Wikipedia. At least until the editors find and delete my entry. I'm your host, E. Adam Thomas, and I'm only here so I don't get fined. Tonight, we're looking at a classic Asian monster film and its inferior remake. It's an epidemic, I tell ya. First up, Yongary, Korea's first attempt at creating their own Godzilla-like film franchise, although the way it's written, it has a lot more in common with the inferior Gamera franchise. First off, the plot is a very lazy scientist versus monster trope. It's written in such a way that a child can easily understand it, but it has nothing about its style or presentation that would particularly appeal to kids. The dubbing is about average, if kinda dreary, but the dialogue is so parochial, it's virtually intolerable. And while it features a precocious kid, this kid is far more annoying than your average vintage kaiju brat. And more than a bit of a prick. The lack of passion in the dubbing is matched equally in the lack of passion in the acting. Everybody seems to have this dead look on their face, like they're reading their lines off of a cereal box. It's like they were all assigned to the film like a bunch of disgruntled day laborers. It's pretty sad when the best thing you can say about a film is that the background sound effect looping is remarkably well recorded, at least in the human scenes. I won't go into a whole lot of minutia about how bad the monster sound effect scenes were, but when an entire building collapses, it shouldn't just sound like somebody lazily threw a bunch of broken Xboxes down a short flight of stairs. As for Yongary itself, it is pretty much a blatant copy of Godzilla. It even has similar backplates and it has flame breath. The big difference is that the Suitmation actor appears to have been drunk for most of his scenes. Not that I can really blame him, to be honest. I'd be pretty lax about my professional attitude, too, if I were asked to wear a 75-pound monster costume and partake in this scene.
Hey! He's dancing!
I mean, fuck me gently with an oxygen destroyer. Who would even fucking write a scene like that, much less have the balls to ask an actor to actually do it? To be honest, it's probably one of the silliest fucking things I have ever seen in a monster movie. And that's why I don't hate the film. It's not good. To be honest, it sucks, but I can't hate it. Also, it does have one of the most realistic monster death scenes I've ever seen. Yes, that's right. He doesn't dissolve, he doesn't explode, or disappear in a huge puff of glittery smoke. He falls over into a river and shits blood. Kinda how I picture Jay Leno going out. Oh, and yeah, he's killed by some kind of ammonia-based chemical. That's right. He's fucking killed by weaponized Windex. The Rantometer for Yongary shows artistic getting a 1, coolness getting a 2, originality getting a 0, and suckitude getting a 3. That gives this 1967 Korean kaiju flick a 0 score. Not bad enough to be horrible, Not good enough to be anything more than mildly distracting. Which brings us to the 1999 remake, 2001 Yongary, or as it was titled here in the US, Reptilian. First off, other than using the name Yongary for the starring monster, this film has almost nothing really in common with the original film. In this version, Yongary is a 200 million year old fossil being dug up by an asshole egomaniac scientist, which gets reanimated by aliens to destroy the Earth. There's another monster in the film, but who gives a shit, okay? This isn't about the plot, which is a ripoff of Monster Zero or Godzilla 2000, and it's not about the acting, which is really bottom shelf for the most part. This is about the monster action. First off, the monster action itself is all CGI. Really bad fucking CGI, like cheap-ass video game from the early 90s CGI. I mean, say what you will about Emmerich and Devlin's Godzilla, which sucked to high hell, but at least the CGI showed some effort. This was just awful. And yet, the city sets themselves, the miniature buildings, were all practical effects and were really good. Some of the city destruction itself was actually really well executed. I mean, seriously, if they'd just gone ahead and gotten some even halfway decent monster costumes instead, this film would have looked pretty good. But the CGI was so colon-rippingly awful, it totally destroyed the film. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm used to ignoring bad acting, bad scripting, and stuff like that in these films. But the monster action is the primary reason for watching these films. If your CGI is going to look this bad, hit the fucking delete key and buy some latex. Oh, and if you're going to put a line like this in the film...
Compared to this guy, Godzilla is a pussy.
Don't make your titular monster such a fucking wuss. I mean, for fuck's sake, did anyone actually expect this film to make any money at all? That's why you make a genre film, right? To sucker some geeks out of their hard-earned cash? On the Reptilian Rantometer, artistic gets a 0, coolness gets a 1, and originality gets a 0 as well. I'm only giving it a 3 in suckitude because I do respect the quality of the miniature city effects. I just wish their head destroyers had been fucking worthy of them. That gives Reptilian a -2. Again, the remake is worse than the original, but neither of them sucked as bad as Reptilicus. That movie is a screaming, puppy-raping pile of unmitigated suck. Next time, we look at a request by Steve Andreessen, House 2, The Second Story. Tonight's episode was requested by Godzilla Moraga. That will bring us to the end of Request Month, but you can still suggest films for me to rant about, or things I can shove up my ass for not liking a film you think is some kind of fucking perfect jewel, by commenting here on YouTube, posting on Facebook or other social media using the hashtag FilmRantsEAT, or emailing me at filmrantseat@cox.net. Konnichiwa, motherfuckers! Angry Men Reviews. Many fucks said, no fucks given. Why do you people keep making me watch these movies? Look what you're doing to me! Oh!